Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at the First Alert Desk. I'm Maria Moreau with your continuing coverage on Atlanta News First Plus, and Monday officially kicks off the start of our Assembly Atlanta discussion. This is a fantastic new state-of-the-art film studio in Doraville. I want to show you some of these drone shots here as our drone takes off into the air. More than 135 acres being built at the former site of the General Motors assembly plant. If you're a longtime Atlanta resident, you might recognize that. Now it is transforming into a state-of-the-art major production in the Atlanta area. Now, Assembly Studios is providing over 250,000 square feet of stage space, and that includes anything from production offices, warehouse, mill space, everything that a television and film production needs. But more than that, and really the unique part and my personal favorite, it's also a living workplace with working retail, restaurants, even livable homes. It's eat, play, work, everything you could ever want, all coming here to Doraville thanks to our parent company, Gray Television and Atlanta News First. We are so excited to show you this state-of-the-art new film studio, this space that is transforming Doraville and bringing more opportunity for film here in Atlanta. What we want to do here on Atlanta News First Plus is take you through this massive presence building up in Doraville and also get you your first-hand look at what you can expect in the years to come. This is a phased launch right now, with Friday being the big day of unveiling Assembly Atlanta, Assembly Studios, but this week is all about capturing the importance and significance of film in Georgia. We are not called the Hollywood of the South. That is an earned title, and we want to take you through every part of film here in Georgia, the history, the future, every single person that makes it happen here in Georgia and gives us a name in film, in history. That is all coming here to Doraville, and the future is endless. So thank you so much for joining us here at Atlanta News First. Here moments from now, we're going to take you to our reporter Don Shipman, who is out there at this film studio set, this Assembly Atlanta location, a really massive undertaking and project by Gray Television. Don's going to give you the full walk around, and of course we have so much more coming, including from our very own Atlanta News First reporters who have been telling the stories of your community, of the Georgia film community. You'll get to hear from them, as well as a very special anniversary today. We are celebrating Atlanta's election of the first black mayor 50 years ago today, a very significant historical moment, and what better way than to kick off Assembly Atlanta week than with the anniversary. I want to take you through some more action shots here. This was just last year. Talk about the theme, past, present, and future. Starting with the past and the decision, there's our CEO, Hilton Howell, to take this space and bring it back to life. Build not only a state-of-the-art studio, but an environment for Georgia film, a future for Georgia film, and everything television and film production. Now, as you might know, this used to be the General Motors plant in Doraville. It used to be a busy working space, and for the longest time it stood still, and that was until Gray Television decided to revitalize this space and really bring it home and bring jobs to this area, of which you'll hear more from one of our reporters later on today. But Assembly Atlanta really bringing back to life, as you can see, this space, and it was a massive undertaking, one we covered last year at this same time when construction began, and that development was heavily underway. Coming to today, this moment where we have now a chance to show you for the first time the finished Assembly Atlanta and how it will look in the years to come. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this is a phased opening, and one of the most exciting parts, which we'll cover later on in this streamcast, is the possibility for the public to access parts of this space. So we have so much to talk about. I want to talk a little bit more about Assembly Atlanta's potential here, talking about more than 400 film and studio projects that are produced in Georgia each year, this is going to offer a space for so many more of those and hopefully attract more film here. I mean, we have been the Hollywood of the South for quite some time. Major projects like Jungle Cruise, we had Stranger Things filmed here, Black Panther 2, so many more projects that are still to come, and so many that have already came and became fan favorites at that. So Assembly Atlanta, talking about the present space and what it means, Assembly being a way to honor the former General Motors plant and remember that through the name, through bringing it back to life and remembering the past while honoring the present and looking to the future. We have a lot to cover for you here on Atlanta News First. And like I mentioned, moments from now we'll be taking you to our Atlanta News First reporter, Don Shipman. He'll be taking you through some of these major sites from our main desk at Atlanta News First, out in Assembly, as we like to call it, live from Assembly. But as you can see, these buildings mimicking that of Louisiana, mimicking that of hotspots and landmarks that you often see in movies, and recreating that space to really bring it to life. We have so much to cover about this. And as we continue to talk about Assembly Atlanta, I want to bring up also some of the transformation that we've seen get underway over the past year, from looking at rebar and construction to seeing a set come to life. And our Gravere Denza just this morning mentioning she walked through a part of Assembly, more than 135 acres of this property, but she walked through just a portion of it, and she said it was like standing in New York City, and the feeling of it and the layout of it. It was done with so much detail and so much care. And for Gravere, she said that was a breathtaking moment. And this place, this set, has so many studios like this that are going to offer a chance for film productions to bring to life their storytelling, to bring to life the characters and the settings, and a lot of it was the need for location. So Assembly Atlanta bringing that to life. The word assembly itself having multiple meanings, like I mentioned earlier. It is a nod to the plant that operated the General Motors plant. It is also a symbolism of the future of assembly, which will be a place of people to gather together. How sweet is that? All right, and like I mentioned, we have so many of our talented Atlanta News First reporters out there telling the stories of Georgia film, of Georgia's future. We also have our Atlanta News First Tim Darnell, who's been covering the 50th anniversary of the first election of the black mayor here in Atlanta, the first African-American mayor. He'll be chatting with us here in a moment. I want to get you out to our reporter, Don Shipman here. I'm going to connect with Don as we talk more about Assembly Atlanta and the future of Doraville. Taking a look at some of these renderings, this is now a vision in place here at Assembly Atlanta. The renderings that you see here now becoming real live working sets. And just to talk about this theme, past, present, future, as you can remember the General Motors plant shutting down being a devastating moment for so many workers that really dedicated long hours, many years to this place. And for the longest time, it was just this empty space, and now it is transforming and becoming what you see here, working functional studios. And more than studios, we have sound stages, we have offices, warehouses, mill space, eat, sleep, play, hotels, restaurants, conference spaces, and so much more. And we're going to get you up close and personal with all of this and more at these filmable buildings at Assembly Studios. I want to get out to our reporter, Don Shipman, who I'm trying to connect here with, if you'll bear with me. He's been out there all morning. He's one of the first to take us out live to Assembly Atlanta, and let's see if we can connect with him now. All right, and we have our Atlanta News First Don Shipman here with us, live from Assembly. I'm going to try to pull up Don here. Don, you have been bringing us our very first look at Assembly out there. I mean, capturing the excitement, the energy. This is a very important week for so many here, for Georgia film and for history in the making. Tell us what you've seen so far.
I mean, it's really incredible. There's a lot of people here who are just kind of hanging out, doing lots of work, making sure that they're, putting all the finishing touches on. We're talking about 135 acres of property here that is filled with tons of sound stages. Right now, we're actually in one of those buildings where the sound stages are. And you can see out back here, too, they have like a retaining pond back here, and it looks really cool. You can see a stage over there because come the end of the week, there's going to be a huge celebration here on the property here to celebrate the grand opening of this of Assembly Atlanta. So keep in mind, 22 sound stages. It is really massive, massive.
And Don, we got to see some of your coverage on Atlanta News First this morning, and following along with you as you walked through these impressive buildings that looked like real cities, all to bring really the settings where film will take place to life and make it as realistic as possible. There was so much attention to detail. I mean, how was it sitting on those steps, interacting with what is essentially a stage? It's not real.
I know, it's not real, but it is real, because what they did is that they want it to look as real as possible. So when you're sitting on those steps, for example, the steps, the stone, it's all real stone. They brought it in from New York. If it's a Brooklyn brownstone, if it's a European front, they made sure they brought the stone, the limestone from Europe to build that, because they are going to be filming in 4K. They want it to look as real as possible. It really is neat.
And you were with us last year when this was just an undertaking, a massive project that a lot of us were hopeful to see, and now seeing it in its current glory, I mean, about to open up and be in use. How is that, like, thinking back on a year from now to today?
Well, if you think back a year ago, there was really not a lot here. It was really just an open field, and now there are office spaces, there's production rooms, there's sound stages. And I actually just got done talking with the mayor of Doraville, which is where we're located here, and he was saying that when he first got the call from the head of Gray Television and to talk about what he wanted to do with this property. The mayor said he was skeptical about it. He was like, I don't think that anyone can do what they want to do. But he was here this morning, for example, and he walked around and he was able to look at some of the sound stages and see behind the scenes. And he says it's incredible. And it's going to be a huge economic boost for this region as well. Keep in mind that the GM plant closed in 2008. A lot of people, those people and those jobs left this area. Well, now those jobs are back with Gray TV and all of these movie productions, TV productions. And it's not just the actual productions itself. It is also the trickle-down effect, because people are going to be living here. People are going to be shopping here. They're going to be going into, say, Chambly, which is just down the street, Dunwoody, for example, also Doraville, of course, and doing some shopping, going out to the restaurants and whatnot. So you will see an economic boost in this region.
And Don, I see, the lighting setup, the anchor desk. I haven't had a chance to announce it, so maybe you can. We are going to have more of our Atlanta News First team out there at Assembly, and it's for a very special purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I want to show you here, because we have the set right here, and it's a little chaotic right now because we're in the midst of setting it all up, but this is where we're going to broadcast the news for the rest of the week. This is our kind of makeshift studio, I guess you could say. But I mean, all the anchor desk is here. We got all the cameras to bring in teleprompters, all the behind the scenes stuff that you don't generally get to see. But this is where we are going to be broadcasting the news in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. And it's really just kind of to set the stage for what is this week. We're calling it Assembly Week. It's an opportunity to let the public see what has been going on here over the course of the last year. And then rounding out our week, we're going to have a huge celebration here, a massive gala. We have quite a few famous people who are going to be showing up as well, and some performers taking the stage and everything. We're really looking forward to it.
It's going to be a week of so much excitement, so much to get into, and a very important part of all this is not only highlighting this new opportunity to bring more film and, bring the name Hollywood of the South really home with this set, but also to talk about how far Georgia film has come to Atlanta, to Georgia, and putting Georgia on the map in terms of film history. We're going to get into more of that today here on Atlanta News First Plus. But Don, we'll be following along with you in our new newscast and really throughout the week as you take us through more of this excitement. Thank you so much.
No problem. Have a good one.
All right, and I do want to talk a little bit about the importance of today. Today is the 50th anniversary of the election of the first African-American mayor here in Atlanta. A very important moment in history, and it's, interestingly enough, tied to what we're talking about today. And let's take a look at the latest ATL Vault.
A child prodigy, some would say. Morehouse College had established an early admittance policy, really in the era of the Great Depression and World War II, in part to help boost enrollment, but also because they knew that there were a number of African-American young African-American men who were ready for college before they turned the age of 18. And Maynard Jackson was one of those students. He actually entered Morehouse College at the age of 14 in 1952. And he graduated in 1956. He comes from a family of activists, people who were activists in terms of civil rights, in terms of political empowerment generally. And that's on both sides of this family, quite frankly. So I think it's important to go back, if we have a little time for that, to before the birth of Maynard Jackson, to talk about how his legacy, how his family's legacy began. So let's begin with his mother's family. His mother was Irene Dobbs Jackson. Irene Dobbs was the daughter, one of 6 daughters of John Wesley Dobbs. John Wesley Dobbs was the unofficial mayor of Sweet Auburn Avenue, and he actually earned that title because of his activism during the Civil Rights Movement. He was headquartered as the unofficial mayor of Auburn Avenue in the Butler Street Y. That was the hub of Black activism back in the day. And the family actually lived on Houston Street in the Auburn Avenue community, quite close actually to the King family, the family of Martin Luther King Jr. In fact, Irene Dobbs grew up with Martin Luther King Jr. and his other siblings. So they were very close families. And as you know, both of those families were politically active and really provided the foundation for the activism of their children. Martin Luther King Jr. in terms of the King family, and Maynard Jackson in terms of the Dobbs family. But in any case, that activism was really sparked by the activism of Irene's father, John Wesley Dobbs. He was actually a postal clerk, a mailman. He rode the trains and oversaw the mail across the region. But he was also the Grand Master of the Masons, Prince Hall Masons here in Atlanta. And he was very prominent in this community and nationally, quite frankly. And with an attorney named Austin Walden, he actually established the Atlanta Negro Voters League. That was a nonpartisan organization that was meant to help empower African Americans in the city. So you see where that legacy begins there. Democrat attorney Austin T. Walden, Republican John Wesley Dobbs established the Atlanta Negro Voters League. And through that organization, that nonpartisan or bipartisan organization, they were able to galvanize the Black vote. And keep in mind that Black voters in the city of Atlanta and really across the South have been disenfranchised early in the century, and really beginning in the late 19th century after the end of Reconstruction and on into the early 20th century. Poll taxes, literacy laws were put in place to limit Black voting power. And so when these two men joined forces and created this organization, they had a very specific purpose to galvanize that remaining power of the Black vote to really leverage some things in terms of negotiations, compromise with the white power structure. And this is really during the period or early in the period of the Atlanta Way. And that really came about initially after the 1906 Atlanta Race Massacre. And that's when members of the white power structure called in members of Black leadership in the city to sit down at the table and essentially go through a period of compromise, negotiation, conversations to work toward change. Often it was limited change, very limited change in terms of what the Black community would receive in exchange for the Black vote. But it resulted in some degree of positive change within the segregated system in the South. And so using this approach, this Atlanta way, the Atlanta style, some call it, These two men and others in that organization were able to sit down at the table, literally, with members of the white voting power structure, and so they were able to essentially assure that 99% of the Black voters that were part of the league that were influenced by the league, 99% of the voters Black voters in the city would follow the recommendations of the Atlanta Negro Voters League when they went to cast their vote. So that's a lot of power, a lot of clout, and it speaks a lot to the integrity and the value of John Wesley Dobbs in the community. He had 6 daughters. He and his wife, Irene, had 6 daughters. And those 6 daughters were prominent in their own right, from Maynard Jackson Jr.'s aunt, Mattie Wilder Dobbs, who was an opera singer, internationally renowned opera singer, a diva, to his aunt, June Dobbs Butts, who I had the honor of interviewing some years ago, about 15, 16 years ago, who was a prominent psychologist. And of course, his mother. And his mother, people don't realize that Irene Dobbs Jackson, a graduate of Spelman, all 6 of the daughters of John Wesley Dobbs graduated from Spelman College. And she graduated in 1929, valedictorian of her class. She studied in Toulouse, France, to earn her master's degree. And that's really where after coming back to Atlanta, she met Maynard Jackson Sr., Maynard Jackson Jr.'s father. Now we're getting to the other side of the family. Maynard Jackson Sr., Reverend Maynard Jackson Sr., was actually the son of a prominent minister in Dallas, Texas. And he co-pastored the church with his father for a time, and then took over the pastorship of that church after his father passed in, I think, 1933. But meanwhile, he was in Atlanta for a period of time, working with Morehouse College on an education initiative. This is Maynard Jackson Sr. And there he met and was smitten by Irene Dobbs. They married, and actually they flew to Toulouse, France to marry, and then came back to Dallas at that time. So Maynard Jackson Jr. was actually born in Dallas, Texas. And then the family moved to Atlanta in 1944. Now, in that time frame, in about the decade between the time that Maynard Jackson was born and they moved to Atlanta, Maynard Jackson Sr., Reverend Maynard Jackson Sr., was not only a prominent pastor, a prominent minister, he was also politically active in the city of Dallas and the state of Texas. He was a founder of the Progressive Negro Voters League. He was a prominent activist in the NAACP, and actually it was he who was one of the leaders of the move to have the white primary of Texas overturned. They started that campaign in 1933 and finally became successful in having the white primary in Texas overturned in 1944. That was the year also they moved from Dallas, Texas, the family, to Atlanta. Reverend Maynard Jackson Sr. accepted the offer to become pastor of Friendship Baptist Church. And so he took that offer and brought his family here. He launched his career really by running for the seat of Herman Talmadge, the avowed flagrant white supremacist. And he lost that race, of course, but he was able to garner about a third of the vote, 1/3 of the vote. And so he leveraged that the attention and the political acumen he gained while doing that election campaign, which he started after the death, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. He galvanized his support and then was able to parlay that and become vice mayor under Sam Massell. And that's important to know about his history as well. So all during this time, he was gaining experience and really learning to negotiate the environment, the political environment. So much so that by 1973, he was able to garner the support he needed, not only Black constituents, but white constituents as well, to become mayor. And so in a city like Atlanta, where you have this history of the Atlanta way, you have this history of being controlled quite literally by a white power structure that was made up not only of politicians, but of leaders in business, the economic leaders. That becomes in itself an interesting kind of environment to negotiate. Mayor Jackson was able to make a great number of strides in terms of changes, in terms of essentially empowering the Black community and other constituencies in the city. But as you know, there were some controversies. I'll just preface again with some of his accomplishments in terms of really helping to build. Atlanta had been trying to garner this reputation since the 1950s, really even before that, late 19th century, as a city that's thriving, that's symbolic or emblematic of the New South, an international city, and it was calling itself an international city when even well before it actually was that, put it out there, projected that. And so in terms of building the airport so that it could become what is now the largest airport on the planet, okay, he really put those things in motion that were needed to make it so. He also worked to enhance and actually make that more diverse the Atlanta Police Department, and that was something he picked up. That initiative to integrate the Atlanta Police Department was started by his grandfather, John Wesley Dobbs, and others, and so he continued that stride, that mission of making the Atlanta police force more representative of the constituency, and also ensuring that it would become a police force that was more sensitive, more humane and sensitive to the needs of the community. That was an effort. We can argue about whether that actually happened, but that was a major effort of his. In terms of controversy, we know that his tenure as mayor was during the time of the missing and murdered children. That was his second tenure as mayor. And that tore really almost tore the city apart and polarized constituency. There was polarization even within the Black community, let alone the Black and white community, and all kinds of theories and ideas about what was really going on, who murdered the children. And so his handling of that was questioned by some. And there are still questions about whether the person who was finally arrested and incarcerated for 2 life sentences is actually the person who did those crimes, who killed those children, because he was arrested, Wayne Williams, for the murders of only 2 young men, and they were adults, they were not children. So that's another story. Excuse me. But in addition to that, we know there was controversy around his efforts to have John Inman fired, the police chief fired. And John Inman was, of course, white and had been in place for quite a long period of time. And he was able to oust him, but he replaced him with a college friend, Reginald Eves. And there was controversy around Reginald Eves in terms of some of his dealings in the city. But in spite of those controversies, he, in 1990, decades later, he was elected for a 3rd term as mayor and moved forward with that quest of his to continue to make Atlanta an international city, brought the Olympics to Atlanta, the 1996 Olympics to Atlanta. And so, as with any politician, his life was filled with both wins and misses, losses, near misses, losses, and controversy. I would say that Maynard Jackson, actually, his life, his career, his legacy actually helped to realize this dream and this promotion of Atlanta as an international city, as a city that was the and continues to be to this day gateway to the South. At a time up until the time of his election, that idea of Atlanta being a city too busy to hate and an international city, gateway to the South, that was a vision that was a part of a PR campaign. But we know that it was not actually true. Okay. And even now we can argue that Atlanta has not realized its vision of becoming a true city, a city that's truly too busy to hate. But what Maynard Jackson's life demonstrates is that it's possible to make strides to get there. His election proves that there was a critical mass of people, a majority of people in the electorate, of the voters in Atlanta, who were willing, for doing in a city that had been run by white power structure, over the centuries, that they came to a time that said, it's time for a change. It's time to move forward. And he embodied that vision. The accomplishments that he was able to achieve actually helped to make Atlanta truly a city that was international, truly a city that was attempting to move forward and making it more equitable, making the environment more equitable and more diverse. We still have a long, long way to go, especially in the environment that we have now, where you have a lot of retrenchment, regression, and polarization in terms of the political realm and social realm, in terms of social justice. But when we look back at the life and career and legacy of Maynard Jackson, we have to understand we have to maintain hope. And the lesson of his life is that it is necessary to keep pushing. That was the legacy of his grandfather's life, his mother's life, and she was actually a civil rights activist too. People don't know that. And his father's life. And so just as they kept pushing for change, he continued their legacy. And it's incumbent upon folk in the city of Atlanta, those in politics and those not in politics, to keep pushing for the kinds of positive changes that Maynard Jackson wanted to achieve in his life.
All right, and that was our ATL Vault series where we go back in time to Atlanta history and take you through it just to reflect and show you the impact that it has today. As with our theme for Assembly Atlanta this week, past, present, and future. And none other than our reporter Chelsea Bindford captured that by capturing the timeline of where we were and where we are today while looking ahead toward the future of film. Here's her report.
Over there, it's meant to look like the French Quarter. I believe that's New York brownstones.
Doraville Mayor Joseph Geierman showed us the sound stages that are nearing completion at Assembly Atlanta. Soon, they'll be used to start cranking out TV shows and movies. But long before Gray Television took over, the 135-acre property was home to a different type of assembly.
They produced GM cars through their whole existence, everything from the Woody to classics all the way up to modern day.
The General Motors plant opened in the heart of Doraville in the 1940s. It brought thousands of jobs and people to the small town.
The city really grew up around the GM plant. was a really important part of the city for a long time.
But in 2008, GM closed the plant, and the city was left wondering what would happen and what could replace so many jobs. 6 years later, a developer purchased the property for $50 million. They tore down the plant and began redeveloping the site, only to be halted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
About 2020 is when we first came and walked on the site for the first time.
That's when Gray's CEO Hilton Howell and developer Jay Gibson entered the picture, drawing up plans for a new, creative, and innovative production hub.
And by early 2021, specifically around April, we closed on the property, and then we filed our permits.
Gray broke ground in September of 2021, and just over 2 years later, construction of Phase 1 is almost complete.
Moving forward, you know, it's a state-of-the-art production facility. Everything from lighting, grip, wardrobe, props, 3D printing, transpo, everything.
Assembly Atlanta will employ roughly 4,000 people and help reinvigorate the heart of Doraville as it was so long ago.
That was
There,
our
it's meant to-
Chelsea Bimefor covering that brief timeline and a magnitude of history for this spot, the former General Motors assembly plant. Now the setting for Assembly Atlanta, more than 135 acres. What you're looking at right now are some pictures from that General Motors assembly plant, talking about that space particularly transforming. I mean, look at how much teamwork, dedication, hours went into making this a reality, the reality that we're excited to unveil for you today. But just to talk a little bit about that evolution, Assembly Atlanta, it was not only a decision to build film studios and sound stages, but to really create an environment that was all immersive, a chance for film studios to see potential in bringing their ideas to life, but also a chance for the community to have a place where they can celebrate film, where they can celebrate the city of Doraville, and have this spot in this moment where they can live, where they can spend evenings together. I mean, you're talking about not only a film space, but retail, livable housing, so much more that this Assembly Atlanta space is going to bring to the community. And now it's here, 250,000 square feet, 135 acres of potential for Georgia film, and very deserving of the title, the Hollywood of the South. The Hollywood of the South, you're going to have a space that you think of when you say that phrase. This is it, Assembly Atlanta. And just to highlight some other exciting parts of this, I mean, this is a mix and immersive experience of studios, but it's also parks, mixed-use development, and so much more than what it will be for film. This is the creation of jobs. It is a boost for Doraville's economy and to put Doraville on the map, and also highlighting that theme that we've been talking about throughout this, past, present, and future. I actually had a chance to speak with Chelsea Bimefor more about being at Assembly and talking to all the people that made it happen. Here's that interview. And we're joined now with our very own Atlanta News First reporter, Chelsea Bimefor. Now, we just saw that full timeline, a little overview of where we are here today with Assembly Atlanta, and soon to be open to the public and here in Doraville. Tell me a little bit about what it was like to put this story together.
It was really cool. I mean, about a year ago when I started working at Atlanta News First, went out to that Assembly property as it was still being built. And now to go back a year later and see all the progress that's been made, it's just really mind-blowing. I was talking to the developer in that story, Jay Gibson, that you just heard from, and I was like, this project really moved quickly. I mean, Gray bought the property in 2020, and then they broke ground in 2021, and here we are now just over 2 years later. It's just kind of crazy to see how fast all of this moved, especially just the vast, like, these buildings are huge, they're sound studios, they're thousands of feet long and wide and tall. I think there's more than a dozen of these sound stages. The property is just massive, and to think that this has all gone up in the span of about 2 years is just incredible to think about.
And just as you said, this property is massive. I'll show some more video that you actually took here in a moment. But I mean, walking around must have been really breathtaking for you, and just to stand there and to know how much impact it's going to have on this community.
Yeah, well, actually, we didn't even walk because it's so big. They put us on like a golf cart gator four-wheeler thing and drove us around. They gave us a big tour, drove us from all the office buildings to the sound stages to the, there's going to be a park and a pond where the public will be able to walk through, and eventually down the road, restaurants and other retail stores. So you kind of felt like a little mouse, like in a large house with all this stuff around you. But it was a really, just neat experience to see all that. And like you said, this is going to have a huge economic impact on Doraville, on Atlanta. Doraville, if you don't know, is a really small town. There's only about 10,000 people that live there, so this is going to bring jobs to the area, hopefully bring some more people to Doraville. We spoke to the mayor in that piece that you just watched. I think some of our other reporters have more in-depth conversations with him in our assembly coverage, but this is a big win for Doraville and Metro Atlanta.
And speaking of the Doraville mayor, I mean, we saw some of his excitement about this project, as I'm sure so many others. But you talk about, not just film here. This isn't just a new studio that's coming. This is really a move forward for Doraville, for DeKalb County. During your conversation with the mayor, I mean, what did he highlight as was his most proud moment for Assembly?
I think just like you've probably heard this a lot, but it's going to be live, work, play. So obviously huge movie studios, but it's going to be, and you can see this in some of the video that we've been playing, like there are streets that run through it right by those big facades that look like New York in the French Quarter. And there's going to be literally a public access road that runs straight through that. So I think he was just really proud of the fact that, it's going to bring jobs, but it's also going to be inclusive, that, families can come play at the park, go to the pond, eventually hopefully get, dinner, go shopping down there. It's just going to be huge development for the city of Doraville.
And we talk about what this location was before, and it was a General Motors plant, and now becoming Assembly Atlanta, becoming this lively working space for so many. I know you're not a fortune teller, but from what you've gathered from standing in that space that a lot of us just haven't had the opportunity to do yet, what do you see in the future?
Definitely job creation. I mean, like I said, you feel like you're so small in this huge space. I think when we're talking to the developers and, the big wigs with Gray Television, they think that about 4,000 jobs will be created here between production and actors and what have you at all these different opportunities that are coming down the line. But it was so, maybe I'm a little bit dumb, but I was always like, why is this called Assembly? But it clicked when I did this story because it used to be an assembly line when it was the General Motors plant many years ago. So I think it's kind of creative that they were able to take that history and sort of incorporate it now into the future moving forward.
What are some things to look out for, places, parts of Assembly Atlanta to make sure to check out?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends on what the public will be able to see when it, first opens. But like the sound stages are just massive. I have been to Hollywood, but not like in a soundstage. So getting to see that, it's like, I don't know. It's so interesting to see how that all works behind the scenes. Just like TV news and television, it's like you go into that other realm and you're like, wow, I had no idea how large these buildings were that they literally build little cities in and sets and stuff. So if you get the opportunity to walk through those, super cool. And then they were in the middle still of building this big pond and like a pool area where there's going to be fountains. It's just so neat. And then there's going to be a green space, which they're still in the process of building. Eventually all that will be open to the public as well. But yeah, just right now it's so interesting that it looks like the Hollywood of the South.
And we'll get a chance to see your full story later today on Atlanta News First. Final thoughts. I mean, you have one of the first people outside of the people who made this happen to see it in all of its glory. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly kind of an honor when you put it that way, that not that many people have been able to see it yet, but hopefully all these stories that we're going to be bringing you this week kind of shed a little bit more light on the project. And we've got so many angles covered, literally, figuratively. We've got this amazing drone video that shows just how vast and wide this project is, but it's going to be really cool when it's all done. And I think it'll be really interesting moving forward to see what kind of shows and movies are filmed here. At the end, they've always got that Georgia film sticker, like when the credits roll, and you're always like, oh, I wonder where that was filmed. But a lot of that is now, hopefully, going to be filmed at Assembly. So it'll be right in your backyard.
Yep, another reason to call us the Hollywood of the South. Chelsea, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Maria.
All right, that was our Chelsea Beimfor capturing the timeline from General Motors assembly plant to the Assembly Atlanta, which is a name you're going to recognize by the end of this week. And just to highlight, putting assembly on the map, there it is, that location. This is really not just a chance for film, but a chance for Doraville. As Chelsea mentioned, that small community is going to have the chance to be the future of film here in Georgia. That closure of the General Motors plant was a big hit for Doraville, and now the future, the potential for jobs. I mean, thousands of workers that were no longer commuting for their work at the General Motors plant, businesses that suffered from that, are now having another chance with Assembly Atlanta to revitalize this community. Our reporter Adam Murphy actually went down to Assembly, to Doraville, and captured this revitalization underway.
In the city of Doraville, there is a hustle and bustle of traffic on Buford Highway at 285. But if you spend any time here, you'll quickly realize something is missing.
Really, Doraville grew up around that GM plant, so when it left, that was a major loss for us.
Doraville Mayor Joseph Geierman said life changed here when the General Motors plant shut down 15 years ago. Hundreds of jobs vanished, and so did the people, leaving a gaping hole in the heart of the city.
There was actually a lot of business that was lost.
Justin Tate is the general manager of Baldino's sandwich shop in town. He said his store lost about 40% of its lunch business after the closure of the GM plant.
There were people that would come in and say, hey, this is probably my last time coming here. I'm no longer working across the street.
Now, for the first time in more than a decade, there is a new heartbeat that will soon bring opportunities and life back to Doraville.
But I do think property values are going to go up, and we will see increased revenue based on that.
Great Television's new development, Assembly Atlanta, will bring a new live, work, and play Studio City to the old GM site, giving new businesses in town a sense of hope.
We're just looking forward to more foot traffic, economic growth, new jobs, etc. I mean, it's just a win-win for everybody.
But I think the Assembly is going to offer a lot of new opportunity and growth, and we're really excited about it.
The mayor told me that Assembly Atlanta is expected to generate more than 3,500 new jobs, more than making up for the 800 or so that were lost. The heartbeat is back and the future is bright here in Doraville. At Assembly Atlanta, Adam Murphy, Atlanta News First.
And I actually have our Adam Murphy here in-house with us at Atlanta News First. You're usually a busy bee out in the community reporting, and I wanted to bring you on here to talk about Doraville. We talk a lot about Assembly Atlanta, but this is a big moment for Doraville herself.
Yeah, it is. When you think about it, Doraville is actually a very small community. 3.5 square miles make up the city of Doraville. But you have a lot of restaurants. You do have a lot of retail in that very small area. And, they took a significant hit. You heard me talk about that. There were 800 plus jobs that went away about 15 years ago when that GM plant actually shut down. It was a cost-cutting measure. That's why they closed the plant. And as a result, the impact was significant on many of the businesses in the community, and they really struggled. I mean, Baldino's Subs, if you've been into Doraville, that's an iconic spot, really good sandwich shop. They lost 40% of their lunch crowd. I mean, it's unimaginable if you think you're a business owner and you're going to lose half your business when a plant like that shuts down, losing 800 and so jobs. I mean, how do you survive? But they did, and many of these businesses hung on by a thread. Then they dealt with, of course, everything that came along with COVID. So this is going to be just a great rebirth for the city of Doraville. They're going to see more than double the jobs come back. I mean, we're talking 3,500, 4,000 jobs that will return as a result of Assembly Atlanta alone. It's significant, and everybody there is excited. And in addition to what's happening on ground, or on site there at Assembly Atlanta, you're also seeing many condos going up in the area near Assembly Atlanta, right at 285 and 141 or Peachtree Industrial. And it's just an exciting time for many of the businesses, many of the residents. Property taxes are expected to go up. So this is a win-win all the way around, and something that really puts Doraville on the map. Assembly Atlanta is doing just that.
And one thing that you highlighted that I loved is you actually talked to these Doraville community members, these small businesses, these people that are going to feel the impact the most, because we want to put those voices on and talk to them and see how they feel. And there was a lot of excitement for what this future has and the possibilities that come with it.
Well, I mean, like I said, you talk about these businesses sort of hanging on after the GM plant left, then COVID. I mean, that was a real difficult time for any business, especially a small business owner. And now it's like the Super Bowl has come to town and it's going to stay. Can you imagine the money that's going to be generated in the community as a result of many of these big productions that will come to Assembly Atlanta? And so when these people come to town, they need a place to stay. They need other restaurants to go to. Sure, they're going to be catered there at Assembly Atlanta, when they're on set. But there are times where they want to get out and they want to explore the city of Doraville and what it has to offer. So businesses are no doubt going to benefit, and so are the residents that live there. I mean, there's a small area of residential properties, but those properties are going to get a boost because they're going to see their property values go up. There's going to be more tax dollars generated in the community, more money to improve roads and other public services in Doraville. So just an all-around win-win.
And Adam, you are a longtime Atlanta journalist, a longtime Atlanta resident for that matter. For those that aren't too familiar with Doraville, it is a small community after all, about 10,000 people live there. What should they know about this town? I mean, it's already such a big deal that Assembly Atlanta is bringing a future for film here, but for these community members, what are some things that people who aren't familiar with this area, what should they know about the people of Doraville?
Well, the people of Doraville are good people. It's got this small town feel, but it's in such a thriving area and a big area because you're right there at 285 and Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, okay, not far from Spaghetti Junction. So while you have this city that's 3.5 square miles, I mean, it's small, and there's a small town feel and great Southern hospitality. At the same time, you have everything you need in this community. And with Assembly Atlanta, it just brings more to the community. And so they're in a great location. I mean, if you live or work in Atlanta, you've driven by Peachtree Industrial Boulevard at 285. We all know it, where the old GM plant used to be, and now Assembly Atlanta is going up. And so it's very convenient to get to. It's a great spot to visit. You get the small town feel I talked about, plus all of the amenities that a big town would have because you're right there on 285 at 141 or Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, as most refer to it. And I think it's just going to be a great thing. I think what's neat is when we have these big productions that come to town and they're going to come in and produce movies at Assembly Atlanta, they're going to get a small town Southern hospitality feel, as well as having all of the resources they need to make some of the greatest films that are going to ever be made right there in Doraville.
And Adam, you are also our restaurant report card go-to. You know all the best spots. You know the spots that need some improvement from time to time. For Doraville, you are actually highlighting a restaurant report card in the area of Assembly Atlanta. Can you tell us a sneak peek about what you're working on this week?
Sure, we're doing this because it is Assembly Week, and we want to give you a sneak peek of what's going on in the city of Doraville. First, we're going to introduce you to a very prime, big-time catering company that actually services those production crews and those actors and filmmakers that come into town. And they take care of those individuals in that community when they are producing some of the great films that are going to be made here in the Atlanta area. Also, in addition to that, we want to introduce you to some really special, unique hot spots, places you want to go if you visit Doraville. So if you're in the area, you want to check out Assembly Atlanta as it begins to thrive. You'll also know exactly where you might want to go to dine. We're going to tell you about the best places in Doraville that you and I can dine at, and you get to see firsthand how these production crews and filmmakers and actors and actresses get to dine as well when they're on set. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll give you that much, and I'll tell you, boy, that's good, because it's going to be great.
We're so excited to see that. We'll highlight it here on Atlanta News First Plus. We know you'll have that restaurant report card for us on Atlanta News First on our newscast hours. I just want to say, for those of you that haven't checked out a restaurant report card yet, we have all of the must-watch moments from Adam Murphy on our website, atlantanewsfirst.com, and check out our Instagram, because you are all across town very clearly passionate about the report cards you bring to us and highlighting all the great community restaurants that we have to check out.
Yeah, Maria, we've started an Instagram post that we do every single week. It's really cool. It's an Instagram video that I produce and put together at the restaurant that we're showcasing. So you get like 25 seconds of thrill, from the favorite restaurant of the week that scores a 100 and wins our Golden Spatula. So we'll be doing that as well this week, and you can see that pop up on our Instagram page, Atlanta News First. You should definitely watch those. They're a lot of fun and give you great ideas. And the restaurant report card segment, of course, airs every Thursday at 5 o'clock on Atlanta News First, and then 10 o'clock Thursday night on Peachtree TV.
Adam, thank you so much. I know I got to head out the door. I appreciate you jumping on and talking with us.
My pleasure. Enjoyed it.
All right. And hey, guys, as we talk about Assembly Atlanta, the Doraville community, there's so much to highlight for film here in Georgia. Coming up, actually, we're going to get you out live to Assembly Atlanta, where our meteorologist, Rodney Harris, is. We just had him there a moment ago, I promise you, but he'll be bringing you your first alert forecast and a look at the week ahead and what weather you should expect. Doraville, this is a special one for you. We'll bring you your report live from your community at Assembly Atlanta, at Assembly Studios. We're highlighting it all. Stick around. We got more coming up. All right, and we have our meteorologist Rodney Harris with us here with a first alert forecast report, a look at your weather ahead. We've actually been following him from Assembly Atlanta throughout this morning. If you're with us on Atlanta News First, he was giving you your top of the morning report, and now taking you through your week. A lot of us starting off our Monday. Let's see if we can connect with Rodney here in a moment. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties. In the meantime, I want to show you this exciting story that one of our reporters did, actually talking about what all goes into making a film production come to life, and part of that is finding ordinary people like you and me on the street and getting them in on the excitement. Here is a little more about how to be a movie extra.
In a place like Georgia, where so many TV shows and movies are filmed, there's a growing number of opportunities for you to land a spot on the big screen as an extra.
I think it's actually much easier than people think.
Hey.
For years, Brian Beagle was an actor best known for his supporting role in We Are Marshall.
I took a lot of hits.
Yeah?
I was starting running back and I was tiny.
But now he's a casting director here in Atlanta, and he says becoming an extra is as simple as a Google search.
You can go online and type in Extras Casting Atlanta or Extras Agents Atlanta and find the top 5 places to list yourself. And as soon as you get listed on there, then they reach out to you for things that are right for you.
While the task can be quite rewarding and fun, the days are long.
I say 16 hours. You know, the movie filming is glamorous, but honestly, it's tedious and it's rehearsed, and there's a lot of things that go into it. So you get to see the meat being made, which is a little bit different side of things for sure.
Action! The pay scale for a background actor depends on the film's budget, but the national average is just over $13 an hour, according to Indeed. But despite the pay and the long hours, Beagle says being cast as an extra gives you a front row seat, which could someday help you land a lead or supporting role in a film.
It puts you on the set, like I said, where the camera's not focused on you, so you learn. You watch and you learn etiquette, as I call it. Acting in the entertainment business is a journey, and you never know what you'll end up doing because there's so many opportunities here in Atlanta, and you can do anything you want. You just have to love your journey.
Brooks Baptiste, CBS 46 News.
And that was our Brooks Baptiste. A little fun moment of if you want to get involved in film, that's a fantastic chance for you to do so. I actually got our meteorologist Rodney Harris here on the line with us. Rodney, can you hear me all right?
I can, Maria. Good morning.
Good morning, Rodney. Hey, I know you have been out at Assembly all week long, all morning long for us, and you'll be there all week long. But you have actually had a chance to step foot on the studios, kind of take it all in. We talked to Don, who said it was just a breathtaking moment for him to see all of this hard work come to life from where we were a year ago. Tell us a little bit about the feeling out there, standing out there. We'll get into the forecast here in a moment.
No, I agree 100% with that, Maria. The difference between now and a year ago when we were out here, because I was out here as well a year ago. In fact, what's really cool, Maria, you can see me still kind of messing with my tie and getting together. This is a work in progress. We're literally putting the finishing touches on this as we speak. You can see crews are out here still working on the studios. It's so amazing to be here with all of this stuff in progress, Maria. So what I'm showing you right now, this is pretty cool, and we've been showing this on Atlanta News First on television all morning long. But the way that they make television shows and movies, and what we're doing here at Assembly Studios is, if you want to shoot a building or film a building is a better way to say it, that's like New Orleans or New York or Europe, instead of actually having to travel to those locations, producers can do that right here from Doraville at Assembly Atlanta. So what our photojournalist Ismir Payton is showing you right now, this is the building, the front of a New Orleans type building. And that's pretty cool. You can see the different colors. It does not look like a building that you would see in Atlanta because it's not. We're on the set. And not only do we have that, Maria, but if you go down the block, there's also New York down there with a lot of brownstones. As I've mentioned before, there's buildings for Europe. So again, that allows producers to be able to film the buildings without ever leaving the studio. And I've been able to see a lot of that this morning, Maria, and it's been so cool to see the magic of movie making that way. And it's real, I want to say that too. We've been talking with our CEO, Hilton Howell, our big boss, who is out here as well. When you go to Hollywood, a lot of the buildings, they're actually fake because they're not really, just being used for movies. This stuff is real, it's real brick, so a lot of investment has gone into putting this stuff together. And Maria, it's just been phenomenal being here, seeing it in progress, not only a year ago, but right now. It's just been some really special stuff.
And Rodney, I know that you and I were like, let's make a forecast happen. I have your clicker right here in my hand to help along with, but I pulled up your weather forecast graphics. If you don't mind walking us through a little bit of what the weather is feeling like out there and what we can expect for the rest of the week.
So right now, obviously it's cold, and we all know that because Ella, Courtney, and I have been talking about it all morning long. We're in the 50s right now. It's 56 degrees in Atlanta. It's 53 in Marietta. Good morning to you in Cobb County. 54 in Lawrenceville. You're still at 50 over in Monroe. Let's go to the 24-hour temperature change, Maria. Thank you, by the way, Maria, our honorary weather producer today for this particular weathercast. You're going to see that it's obviously cooler today compared to this time yesterday. And you know that if you were outdoors on Sunday, you know that today is cooler. So graphic number 2 will show you that 24-hour temperature change to show you the difference in how much cooler it is today compared to yesterday. I'll tell you too, Maria, later on this afternoon, we're not going to really see much of a change from what we're seeing right now as a bobcat passes me by. Remember, we're at a studio, so if you hear that bobcat in the background. Later on this afternoon, highs will be in the upper 50s, and as you can see, again, it's not too much different than what we're seeing right now. So it will still be super, super chilly. Let's look at the hour-by-hour forecast, Maria, to kind of take people through the rest of the afternoon going into the evening. Earlier this morning, it was clear. It was a beautiful sunrise in Doraville, where we are, and in all of Metro Atlanta. But we will see more clouds this afternoon. We're already starting to see some of those clouds. So we'll go mostly cloudy throughout the afternoon and evening. And there may even be a stray shower or two. There's only a 20% chance of a shower. So most of us will stay dry. It's a lot like what we saw on Sunday. Sunday was mostly cloudy, and there was like a sprinkle or two. We could see that again this afternoon. Certainly nothing for you to cancel your plans, but just know that that is possible. And then if you're headed to dinner later on this evening around 7 o'clock, 53 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. It'll be dry, but it'll be chilly. So let's take a look at our wind speeds, Maria, which is our next graphic, because that's also going to be the story today. When you take the temperature and you combine the wind, right now our wind is at 13 miles per hour in Atlanta. It makes it feel cooler on your skin. We call that the wind chill. And because of that, that's what's helping to make it feel a lot cooler. Even this afternoon, so even though the temperature is warming up, with that wind out there, it's still going to feel cool on your skin. So let's now take a look, Maria, at our next graphic, which will take us hour by hour with the wind gust. And as you can see, our winds are going to gust almost to 30 miles per hour this afternoon. So that's going to really put a bite in the air. So keep that in mind if you have any outdoor plans. It's going to be windy enough to where it may not be comfortable at all times. A nearly 30 mile per hour wind gust. Our highs today, Maria, will again be in the upper 50s. So it will be chilly all day today. We needed the coat this morning. You'll want to stick with the jacket later on this afternoon. And I will tell you that we will see similar conditions tomorrow morning. We will be back in the 30s, the 40s again, with some 30s in the higher elevations of the mountains. So it's chilly this week, but I will tell you this, Maria, as we end our forecast, we will see warmer temperatures as we head toward the end of the week. So 70 is back into your forecast, or near 70, as we get closer to Thursday and Friday. And I do want to mention that we have a first alert on Friday for rain because of a cool front that will be moving through. So watch out for that. That's our next best chance of rain on Friday. Up until then, it's just all about those cool temperatures. So if there's any message that I can give to you forecast-wise, how it felt this morning, it'll feel the same tomorrow morning. So just make sure and prepare for that again. Make sure you have the coats for yourself and for the kiddos. If I'm being honest, Maria, as we come back out here live in Doraville at Assembly Atlanta, I don't think it feels that bad now. Now that the sun is out and the temperature has come out, there's definitely some wind out here, but it's not terrible out here right now with those highs in the 50s.
Rodney, thank you so much. I appreciate you jumping on here with us, giving us a first look really at Assembly Atlanta as more and more of our team jumps in to just highlight the amazing moments and effort and work that has gone into making this a reality. We'll check in with you with our Atlanta News First newscast at noon for more on weather. But right now I want to get you all to another look at our continuing coverage here, and a big part of Assembly Atlanta is creating these sound stages, and the sound stages that are called Assembly Studios are not the sound stages that you might picture, but they are immersive and massive and state-of-the-art. Our own Tori Cooper reports.
We have been full and crazy since 2014.
Frank Patterson is the president and CEO of Trillet Studios, currently the largest production facility in the state of Georgia.
The studio lots are a little bit like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Everybody knows what's going on in there, but nobody gets to go in.
Set across nearly 1,000 acres in Fayetteville, Trillet Studios can accommodate productions at any scale, but most of their sound stages are designed for big productions, including Marvel movies.
Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame.
And the demand for those stages, Patterson says, is high.
The highest it's ever been in the history of our industry, and we're just having a problem keeping up.
There are currently 24 sound stages at Trilith. By next July, that number will grow to 32. Patterson says the massive structures make it possible for film productions to create content without disruptions.
These are protected from weather. They have excellent sound protection. They allow for any kind of filmmaking possible. So producers know that when they're on these stages and in this facility, they can reliably keep on schedule.
According to the Georgia Department of Economic Development, the state has 4 million square feet of stage space with more on the way, including at EUE Screen Gyms in Southwest Atlanta and Shadowbox Studios, formerly known as Black Hall, in DeKalb County. At least 10 sound stages will go up at the former site of the General Motors assembly plant in Doraville. CBS 46's parent company, Gray Television, is behind the 135-acre mixed-use complex known as the Assembly.
We could build this 5 times over and not even come close to meeting the demand.
There's spaces storytellers need to do anything they can imagine.
Georgia has really positioned itself uniquely in the variety of stages and resources that it offers to our industry at large.
Zach Summers, CBS 46 News.
Here we are, back here at the First Alert desk. Hey, Lana.
Yeah, you caught me. I was trying to find a mic box. But you didn't want to give me any kind of heads up, huh? That's all right.
Okay, there you go. It came from you then.
There we go.
So thanks for spending some time with us here on the First Alert desk. We are talking about Assembly Atlanta, and I want to get a couple of things, up just right for us. So give me 1 second just to get situated, and then we'll take it from there. You know what's so interesting about how exciting a day like this is?
What, Brooks?
And Lana, because we've been talking about Assembly since last year.
Right.
Remember when we left last year and it literally was just a whole bunch of dirt out there and just the framing of a lot of different places,
concrete,
right?
Yeah.
But now there's a full-blown situation out there. So we're excited about that. All right, I think we've got these cameras just about where we need to be. Let me just give myself just a little height right here as well.
I know I need... Am I bright? Am I shiny?
I think you're okay, my friend.
Oh,
I think you're okay. So, Lonnie, you actually got a chance to go out there, about an hour ago?
Yes.
What's it looking like?
Okay. So, again, last year, just imagine dirt and stubs, right? Concrete, just stubs. That's all we could see from last year. And I mean, it's basically done. Now, there's still construction happening out there, but it just feels new. It just feels so cool. And, both of us got to see Rodney and Don out there earlier today, the different sets they have, which is so cool. I mean, just the thought of just so many different movies set in so many different locations that are just right here that they can film there now. And, I mean, there was a big, not like a swimming pool, but just almost like a, I don't know, like a where you put a fountain. I don't know what the word for that is, but it's that's big. It kind of seems like it's in the middle of everything, and then you've got these big buildings, glass floor to ceiling, windows, and it just looks like premiere. It's a lot of work went into this.
And I think that's probably one of the craziest parts about something like this, because this is owned by our parent company. A lot of times I think people, when we come into this industry as journalists and whatnot, obviously we're here for the news. There's sometimes a misconception that there's this glamorous life, because there's studio lights, there's makeup and all that things. And then we have to remind people, not quite. But on a week like Assembly Week, we actually get a chance to get out there and pretend to be movie stars, which is fun.
Actually,
that's what I'm saying.
Was cool. Last year they had us in these what were they, these trailers?
The trailers,
these movie trailers.
Yeah.
And you go in there, you can set your temperature however you want it, and that's a big deal when some of us like heat and some of us like being cold.
Yeah.
They had a TV in there, a little couch, a little mirror. So, there was this woman. I hate to talk about this because I feel like, who am I? Who did I think I was?
It's for a week, just one week only.
There was a woman she would knock. She'd be like, oh, hey, here's your muffin that you asked for. And I was like, I could go get it myself. I could get some coffee myself. But she was like, no, this is what I'm here for. So you got a taste of what it's like for the actors who are living this grand lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I'll say, when I saw the set just now, it just felt really cool that, I don't know, somehow I feel like I'm a little pawn, a little piece of this, and technically we all are, since this is our, our state, our movie industry here in Atlanta, in the metro area, and how it just boomed. So it's kind of like a little, a little piece that's for all of us to benefit from, which is really cool.
So we're going to be broadcasting live from there starting today at 3 o'clock. So our first newscast from out there is 3 o'clock, and then through the rest of the week, we are there. So Lana and I will be there starting tomorrow morning. And I'm excited. You know, again, we were saying that this is kind of something that we counted down from last year.
Right.
Because last year we were at Assembly, but we were getting our Atlanta News First studio renovated and whatnot. This year, we're going out there because of how this development has literally come to life in just the past 365 days. I just want to give you just a couple of things just so you can kind of get a bit of an idea of what's happening out here in Assemblies. Because, and if you're unfamiliar with the area, you know, Doraville, more at the top end of the perimeter out there towards Chamblee and whatnot, this is where we are. Now, if you've been in Atlanta for quite some time, Lana, you've been in Atlanta for some time, and maybe you've had family that can kind of attest to this. This is where that historic GM plant used to be. So everybody knows where that is. But we're talking about the Assembly Studios providing 250,000 square feet of stage space, and that includes your production offices, the warehouses, the mill space, everything that television, you know, productions actually need. And that's really incredible, Lana.
Yeah. Mind you, that plant, the GM plant that you just mentioned, closed in 2008. So this is a long time coming. You think about how much money was in the community just from all the workers and all the business that left. And that they can now bring back. I mean, this is huge. I think that's why, at least a part of the reason why we're making this such a big deal. I mean, because it really is just like they used to make cars, now they make movies. You know what I mean? So it's really cool that the restaurants there will get a boost, and the hotels there probably get a boost. And there's so many things that can trickle down just from this one plant, this one vision to bring, you know, a really cool movie studio sets to our area.
And you know, we heard from the mayor of Doraville a little earlier on in our newscast during our 9 a.m. hour. And one of the things that he said he was so excited about is the amount of jobs that's going to bring to Doraville. He said that the GM plant, the city of Doraville was built around the GM plant. So just think about that. Here you have this iconic and historic plant that's really, at that time, the only thing that GM was about, or that Doraville was about. Now you start building homes, you start building businesses and things around that. But then what the city once was, it shuts down. So now bringing something like this out to the area, you can only get excited about that, especially if you're, and I've got a feeling a lot of people out there who have homes, and the way that home value is going to go up for a project like this. I'm just keeping it real. Come and think about that. Those are things that you think about. That's going to bring people to the area.
Because actually Adam Murphy did some digging on that. And so there were thousands of workers that were no longer commuting to Doraville. Thousands of people, not, you know, dozens, hundreds, thousands. So it's huge for that community. And that gaping hole that was in it is now going to be filled with just something completely new and different. And,
And I was going to say, think about that. If you're talking about there are thousands of people that were coming to that area, if I had a restaurant over there.
Exactly.
And I was depending on people for taking their lunch break to come on and enjoy food. When that GM plant closed down, can you imagine the amount of business that you lose? Because what else is bringing people out to that area as far as work outside of smaller businesses? But that was the spot.
So maybe there are chains there now. I'm not too familiar with the restaurant scene, but no doubt you could have small businesses that move into that area with all types of different creations that they made from their kitchen to you, because there's now suddenly all this opportunity and all these people that are going to be flooding into that area. So it's really cool.
So we are excited about this, and it looks like our time is just about done here. But tomorrow, starting at 4:30, make sure you are tuned into Atlanta News First. And that was a plug for the morning show. But also today, starting at 3 p.m., make sure you tune in, because, again, every newscast is going to be broadcast from Assembly Studios. Lana, what's the one thing that you're excited about this week?
Ooh. You put me on the spot.
I'm trying to, that's so I can get time to figure mine out.
Yours out, you dirty. People know. That's all right. You know what's sad? Does it have to be? Honestly, it's the food.
You better say the food. Oh, my goodness.
You already knew. So what's yours, friend?
I would have to say honestly, I'm excited to go check out the sound stages and check out the different sets. Like, I've never been on a movie set.
say that
So
myself.
when you're talking about, and these are things that we've shown in the morning show today that you'll see probably throughout the newscast throughout the day. I mean, like, they've got like little apartments, little cities that
Right.
are real cities, but
Right.
brownstones. Like,
right.
that's so cool.
That is cool. Like to be strolling down as if you're
We're gonna really
walking
feel like
on the
we're
set.
out there.
Yes, in these streets, in these movie
okay.
seats.
We love to see it. Okay, thanks so much for spending some time with us. We are going to turn it over to Maria right now.
Yes.
And again, enjoy all the newscasts coming out of this thing this week because we are really going to have a great time for sure. All right, Maria. Let me make sure I don't tear anything up. Come on in to the camera.
So you're
I just
gonna
wanna
give
make
her
sure
a heads up.
I'm trying to get in and out, but
Yeah.
you know, I'll just do this dance.
He didn't give me a heads up. I didn't get the courtesy.
No, I appreciate you guys. Lana and Brooks off camera now. I wanted to have you guys see a mix of everybody. These guys are actually going out to Assembly Atlanta. They're going to be bringing you your live morning news from there. How exciting is that? Really, the future is bright, and we're excited to share all of the momentum throughout this week and highlight Doraville, highlight Assembly Atlanta, and all that you can expect ahead of the big day, Friday, Assembly Atlanta's unveiling. Coming up, actually, we're going to talk to someone who is going to be directly impacted by this, and that is casting director Kimberly Weinstein. She actually joined us here at Atlanta News First, or will be joining us here at Atlanta News First, to give us an inside look about Georgia's rich film history. We'll have her coming up here in a couple minutes, but a big thing, a big takeaway, if you're going to take away anything from that, is the job creation that Assembly Atlanta is bringing. I mean, there was a lot of devastation with the General Motors assembly plant shutting down in 2008, a lot of jobs lost, thousands of small businesses that were directly impacted by that, and now that is coming back to life. Our Abby Kasoris actually went down to Assembly and covered just the job impacts that we can expect, and I'm trying to find that package that she sent us that we really wanted to highlight because of all of this construction that now has become the Assembly Atlanta plant, becoming this moment, and the job creation is going to be massive. Here's Abby Kasoris.
It's no small feat. Building Georgia's largest production studio took countless hours of hard work. All of the steel was fabricated right here in Scottsdale, Georgia. 13,000 pieces, 12,000 tons, enough to fill 600 trucks. Every beam, truss, and column was created here at Steel LLC. Each piece is carried by overhead cranes to conveyors to saw and drill lines before getting a fresh coat of paint. Robert Miller is one of 150 employees working overtime to make the project happen.
We got to put everything on there and clean it up, paint it, and get it out of here.
After decades of work, he says the assembly project is one of the biggest he's been a part of.
I'll tell my kids, hey, your daddy was proud of that.
The company has been in business since 1947, working on the World of Coke Museum and Falcon Stadium. But Rob Williams says the assembly project put them on the map.
It really just having a steady flow of work for such a long time frame. You know, it's a good sense of job security for everybody.
At a time when work was drying up, they were adding workers. More than 1,000 construction jobs were added for the project, and job creation doesn't stop there. Third Rail Studios and Assembly expect 4,000 freelance jobs, including production crews, operators, and extras.
This is the best place in the world to become an actor.
You might recognize Brian Beagle from the film We Are Marshall. The actor is now a casting director.
The movies here are huge now, so the opportunities are a lot bigger as well.
Background actors average more than $17 an hour. Being cast as an extra could catapult you into stardom.
It doesn't matter if you have never done anything in this industry at all. There's an avenue or a way to get into it and to learn your way and find your way.
The jobs here will be good paying jobs, averaging $86,000 a year. In Atlanta, I'm Abby Kasoris.
That was our Abby Kasoris. I wanted to bring our very own job creation, talking about job creation, as I fix my graphic here. Give me one moment, guys. There we go. This mystery guest on your right, none other than Kimberly Wisted, who's a casting director, a longtime member of the Georgia film industry. And I wanted to bring her on here just to talk about some of the growth that we're seeing here. I'm just going to adjust my graphic momentarily as we have a bit of technical issues. That's what live streams come with. Bear with me, everybody. All right, I think we got it. There we go. Nope, not quite. I said it too soon. All right, so Kimberly, I'm going to jump into this conversation with you here. Casting directing is such a big part of film production for bringing the movies that we all love to life and is setting the tone. I mean, you're not just picking random people off the street, you're really understanding the characters, studying, researching, and trying to tell the story in the way that it deserves. I want to talk a little bit about your background because you started with Georgia's film industry quite a while ago, and you've got to see some of that growth. Talk about the beginning years for you in this field.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started in stage management in college, and I was always really fascinated with the rehearsal process, with the process of an actor, the process of finding an actor. And I'd sit in the room with the director and go through everything with him, how he would select who he thought was great for which role. And I knew I didn't really want the spotlight myself. So he actually introduced me into casting, and he was like, I think you'd be really great for this. Went up to New York because at the time, you think I want to be in production, so I got to be in New York or LA. And went up to New York and started interning, and I had an apprenticeship there in actually casting for Broadway. And I definitely wanted to keep going. I was a little overwhelmed by thinking, okay, I have to be in New York to do what I want to do. So I started doing some research into Atlanta and to the rumblings here that was happening in the state of Georgia. I'm actually from Atlanta. I'm an Atlanta local. So it was kind of awesome to be like, wow, I can move back home and have the same sort of casting access to everything going on in Georgia. So came down to Georgia working for Fincannon and Associates. They've been in the industry since the early 80s. They have a really amazing stronghold and reputation coast to coast. And I jumped in, and I think it was really amazing to see sort of the infrastructure that had already really started here. Starting out, I had like a camera equipment case, and I'd go from production office to production office and set everything up with the directors and the actors. And I think it was amazing to be driving onto these studio lots. And I'm not in LA, and I'm not in New York, and I'm here in Georgia. And I think that's where I really started to feel like I'm sort of at the start of this precipice in casting and in Georgia, and that this is really where I need to be. And fast forward 11 years later, and here we are. But I think it's just really incredible to see that we're not in, these sort of saturated markets like New York and LA, and we're here in Georgia. And again, Georgia's no longer a secondary, market. It's the location, so to speak. So I think it's been really awesome to have the same sort of access to Hollywood, but be in a place where I can thrive. I'm around family and friends, and just to be kind of like a bigger fish in a smaller pond, so to speak. But that pond is definitely getting bigger, for sure.
Getting bigger and more opportunities coming for film here in Georgia with the creation now of Assembly Atlanta, our new state-of-the-art studio in Doraville. I want to talk about the impact you've had here on Georgia film. You have been recognized and credited in over 40 television and film projects with 3 Artist nominations, which, if you don't know, is the nomination and win that any casting director, any film industry person will tell you is an honor to receive, and well-deserved. Nominations for excellence in casting specifically. And some of your films, The Family Plan, not out yet, but exciting project for you. Yeah. The Descendants, more familiar. The Menu, The In-Between, Tales of the Walking Dead. I mean, so many projects that you have had your hands on. Can you talk a little bit about some of those popular movies and films that we've seen, and being behind the process that not many people get to interact with, and then seeing it come to life in the way that we do?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is very exciting, and thank you for touching on that. I think it really does speak first and foremost to the community of actors that we have here, and again, like I was speaking to, the infrastructure that we've built and the caliber of talent. I think it's been really amazing to see, the size of roles that we started with, 10 to 15 years ago, and where we are now with, series regular roles and recurring guest star roles, and our Atlanta actors, toe to toe with these, A-list stars. But it really all kind of starts the same, coast to coast with the script and with sort of the reputation that, the Fincannons sort of bring into the industry, and a level of trust that producers have now with our market and with the actors that we have. And I have a lot of pride for it, obviously, but yeah, we jump in and we dive in with all of the roles that we're going to fill, and we jump on with the team and we talk through what they're seeing, prototype, it just the vibe that they're hoping for, and we reach out to all of our amazing Atlanta agents and Southeastern agents, and we let them know what we're looking for, and they come to us and they let us know who they have on their roster they think would be great, and we handle everything from the getting them sides to the audition to presenting them to the team. There's a lot of avail checking and all of that fun stuff. But yeah, I think it's really just diving in and keeping an open communication with the team, and really working with our amazing Atlanta, actors and agents and managers. But yeah, I think it really just all starts from that script, and also from the trust that these studios and these producers have in the state of Georgia, and what Georgia has to bring to the project.
I wanted to do something fun with you. A lot of people come out to Atlanta with dreams to be on the big screen, to get involved in film here. As a casting director, what are some things that you look out for when someone walks through your door?
Oh, wow, that's great. I think a level of sort of comfortability in their skin and who they are, pride for where they come from for the work that they've done. Also, I really kind of love to know what someone does outside of acting. I think, at the end of the day, we're looking for real people and we're looking for real characters. So I think hearing little tidbits about, their childhood or what they love to do, or experiences they've had, travel experiences they have, fun stories, I think that always brings another level of life and just understanding to who they are as a person and what they could bring to the character.
And talking a little bit about Assembly Atlanta, we're highlighting this entire week on really recognizing Georgia's film industry and how much it's growing, and with that, this new state-of-the-art eat, play, work environment specifically for film, but really for the community of Doraville. What do you see in that future? I mean, you have been in Georgia and Atlanta really your whole life, and now immersed in the film industry here. Yeah. Hearing that there's new spaces being built and investments being made, I mean, what runs through your head for the future of film in Georgia?
It's really, really, truly exciting. I think what's just been so amazing about the market here is just showing everyone really around the nation that you don't have to be in these, hugely saturated markets like LA and New York. You can really be anywhere, and that, Atlanta is such an amazing, culturally diverse town. It's a multi-industry city. Georgia has so much to offer in terms of locations and businesses. So I just think it's really amazing that we're just expanding where production takes place, and it's giving so many more opportunities to people in Georgia, in production jobs and in acting, and we can kind of just move away from everything being done in these two places. And I mean, over the past few years, it's been the amount of people that have moved into our market to do this has just been incredible, and I think that it just shows that we're here to stay, and I think it's made Georgia a cooler place, and I'm thrilled because I want to be here, and I'm excited to see what unfolds. And I just think entertainment is something that we always go back to, no matter what's sort of going on in the world. So I have a lot of pride for Georgia and everything it's gonna hopefully stay and become.
Absolutely, the Hollywood of the South.
That's right.
Kimberly, you've done so much for film here, and you've been so much of the future and what's to come. A lot of the people out there, maybe they're in college, maybe they're looking to get their start in film, maybe they're trying to get into casting, directing. Yeah. What do you have to say to the next generation of film industry workers?
Oh, that's great. I think find your community. Find the people that love to do what you love to do, and join up and content create and really get your voice out there. I think following what you love really will bring you to the right place, and you never know, what opportunity is around the next corner, and who you may meet that can change everything. But I usually always start with find your community, especially when actors move here and they're sort of overwhelmed as to where to start. Join into the acting studio that you've been looking at, and apply for production jobs. Just anything and everything that's in the vein of what you love, and I think it'll really lead you to the next best thing.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Atlanta News First Plus, for
You're so
connecting with so many of our viewers, and just giving us a look from behind the scenes. Not a lot of people get to really understand the process and all that goes into making a movie that we all love to watch, and you've been such a big part of that. So we appreciate you joining us and being here, and for everything that you do.
Thanks, Maria.
All right, and hey, coming up, we're going to be talking a little bit more about all you can expect up ahead on our Atlanta News First newscast at noon. We'll be right back as we continue our live from Assembly and Plus coverage. And welcoming you back to Atlanta News First Plus as we continue our coverage of Assembly Atlanta. That theme, past, present, and future, so important to highlight the past, honor the present, and look to the future. As you just heard, if you were with us moments ago, with a casting director, one of millions who will be impacted by the growth in jobs in Doraville from Assembly Atlanta, by the future for film, and all that's to come for your favorite movies. As we continue our Assembly Atlanta coverage, I want to hold a little fun segment. Do you recognize this film?
I am queen of the most powerful nation in the world, and my entire family is gone. Have I not given everything?
That's right. Black Panther 2 was filmed in Atlanta, and the film, as you saw, came to the big screens and it was a hit. I personally remember seeing it and being moved by it and knowing that so many of those scenes were captured here where we live, where we call home. Was so exciting. And here's another one, my personal favorite. If you're a Marvel fan, you're gonna love this one.
Maybe you just need someone watching your back. Hi. Like a partner.
That's Ant-Man right there, and maybe you recognize this one.
I got a single by this new chick named Aretha Franklin.
I'm on to present Aretha Franklin Day.
Believe it or not, all of that filmed here in Atlanta. The Hollywood of the South does not get its name for nothing. A lot of your favorite films, movies coming here, and more with the creation and assembly of Assembly Atlanta, honoring the present and looking to the future. Now, I want to show you some of these drone footage video that we have here. This was a year ago, as development was getting underway, as construction was continuing on, and now to see it become what it is today, a standing, beautiful space for film, and not just film, for an eat, play, work environment. So much more than the studios and warehouses that are going to create jobs here. It's also a home for retail, for housing, which we will have our very own Atlanta News First reporter Brittany Ford come on here on Atlanta News First Plus later on in the week and talk more about, but bringing that to life through the creation here, revitalization of the once famous General Motors assembly plant that closed down back in 2008 and caused a significant job loss. Now that is getting turned around with the creation of Assembly Atlanta and bringing to life this space for Doraville, for a film for the future of Georgia here in Atlanta. Now, as we continue to talk about some of the films that came out of Atlanta, I mean, we talk about The Blind Side, Flight, Identity Thief, The Hunger Games, the Divergent series, a personal favorite of mine, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, and Avengers Infinity War, all shot here in our great city, and more of these big name blockbusters are going to be coming with the creation of Assembly Atlanta, with all that it's bringing, and hopefully not just jobs, but more opportunities for film companies in the creation through support of the Georgia legislature to create major tax credits and incentives for film companies to arrive here, utilize this space, and create those worlds that you can escape to, and all of that happening through film. We actually got a chance to talk to more people that were impacted by the job creation that's coming with Assembly Atlanta. And here, as you can see, as the studio said, these worlds come to life to bring you the movies that you all love. We're continuing to follow all of the impacts that come out of this with Assembly Atlanta, and more on what you can expect.
We have been full and crazy since 2014.
Frank Patterson is the president and CEO of Trilith Studios, currently the largest production facility in the state of Georgia.
Studio lots are a little bit like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Everybody knows what's going on in there, but nobody gets to go in.
Set across nearly 1,000 acres in Fayetteville, Trilith Studios can accommodate productions at any scale, but most of their sound stages are designed for big productions, including Marvel movies.
Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame.
And the demand for those stages, Patterson says, is high.
The highest it's ever been in the history of our industry, and we're just having a problem keeping up.
There are currently 24 sound stages at Trilith. By next July, that number will grow to 32. Patterson says the massive structures make it possible for film productions to create content without disruptions.
These are protected from weather. They have excellent sound protection. They allow for any kind of filmmaking possible. So producers know that when they're on these stages and in this facility, they can reliably keep on schedule.
According to the Georgia Department of Economic Development, the state has 4 million square feet of stage space with more on the way, including at EUE Screen Gyms in Southwest Atlanta and Shadowbox Studios, formerly known as Black Hall, in DeKalb County. At least 10 sound stages will go up at the former site of the General Motors assembly plant in Doraville. CBS 46's parent company, Grade Television, is behind the 135-acre mixed-use complex known as the Assembly.
We could build this 5 times over and not even come close to meeting the demand.
There's spaces storytellers need to do anything they can imagine.
Georgia has really positioned itself uniquely in the variety of stages and resources that it offers to our industry at large.
Zach Summers, CBS 46 News.
All right, that was our own Zach Summers. And talking about some of the films that have been birthed here in Atlanta and the ones that are still to come, our very own Tori Cooper actually went down to the Silver Skillet, and you might recognize it as a beloved breakfast spot, but it's a little more than that if you're familiar with the film community.
Tell him I'm gonna bring him his box. With time comes change. Okay. But if you sit right here.
The booths are genuine Naga hide with the avocado and terracotta.
You may feel a bit of nostalgia from an era like the 50s or 60s.
We're just in a time warp and the customers love that.
But for Teresa Breckenridge,
breakfast is busy.
It's business as usual.
We opened in 1956. And then I personally took over in 1988 when my father passed away. So I've been here since '88.
For over 60 years, the Silver Skillet Diner has been known for its savory biscuits and the taste of a time period.
This is actually authentic. The boomerang patterns, the windows on the diner are the big shark fin windows.
For filmmakers, it's the set of an old-fashioned diner made for the big screen.
Directors and producers, they're given instructions, go find a roadside diner or a small town diner. So when they come in here, they just go, oh my God, everything's ready. We don't even have to dress it. It's done.
For decades, the Skillet has been serving up the perfect spot for a diner scene in major movies, commercials, and TV shows.
The best known film that was done was Remember the Titans with Denzel Washington. Anchorman 2, yeah, that was good. Trouble with the Curve, Hank Aaron's Story, I Want You Back, Ozark, we've been in Ozark.
And the list of box office hits is almost as long as her list of Southern cooking items on her home-style menu. She says the diner is not just providing money-making shots for filmmakers and their crew, it's also feeding back into Atlanta's economy.
The people flying in from California, they're bringing money in. The hotels make money. Limousines, taxi drivers, Ubers, whoever transportation is. You've got the city of Atlanta making a ton of money. We have brought probably $9 billion in to Georgia with the film industry.
A contribution and legacy she hopes to continue.
I cannot tell you how happy and proud I am that I've been a part of this.
I know Anchorman 2 was a personal favorite of mine. I might have a bias as a journalist, but a pretty iconic film. Wonderful report from our very own Atlanta News First, Tori Cooper, and I just wanted to bring those stories forward because we talk about film and you hear movies getting shot here, but all that goes into it and all of the lasting impacts that has, the way that movies move you and the way that film connects you with characters and lets you escape reality for a bit and travel to a new world. That is such an important part, not only for entertainment, just for connecting and understanding and feeling and having that space to do so. And there's so many people behind the scenes and on screen that help make that happen here at Atlanta News First. As we head into your noon hour with our Atlanta News First newscast, you can expect our very own reporter Don Shipman to bring you another live report from Assembly Atlanta, capturing all of the massive stages and areas that are going to bring film to life and bring Doraville to back on the map for so many to enjoy. And we continue to talk about the growth of Assembly, but understanding the magnitude of this space, 135 acres, built at the former General Motors assembly plant, and honoring that assembly name with the theme past, present, and future. That assembly name part has so many meanings. It's a nod to the General Motors assembly plant itself, but it also symbolizes a future, to assemble, to gather, to create. And that is what Assembly Atlanta is all about. The reason we hop on here and have this week of Assembly Atlanta is to highlight the impact and the future that's to come, thanks to our great company, a great television company that is making all of this happen with the birth of Assembly Atlanta. All leading up to Friday, the big unveiling, our very own Atlanta News First team taking you through all corners of this space and showing you all of the potential that it can bring and so much more for film here in Georgia. I want to talk about more of the history of Georgia film for a moment, and that is its landmarks. You might recognize some off the top of your head, but as our very own Lana Harris will take you, there are some major historical landmarks that appear throughout film.
Respect. We are home. Black Panther.
Here we go.
Spider-Man.
Good evening, Peter. Love it. Love it.
For years, Georgians have had a front row seat to the making of major blockbuster films and TV shows.
I saw Spider-Man when he went up in the air at Rainbow.
Could you do me a favor? Hold on to that. Is this anybody's bag? Let me tell you, the filming here is mega.
Cordelia Hunter, the director at the Office of Film and Entertainment in Atlanta, says Georgia is Hollywood of the South for a good reason.
Made in Georgia.
We have at least 14 to 20 productions on the street daily. You know, we're all over the place.
The cornucopia arena in the Hunger Games Catching Fire is really the Clayton County International Park.
Remember the Oakland, California apartment complex at the beginning and end of Black Panther? Well, that's actually Wheat Street Towers right here east of downtown Atlanta.
We've had Captain America, Baby Driver, Ozark, The Walking Dead, Stranger Things. The list goes on and on and on.
We caught one production crew setting up to film in a fairly popular area of Atlanta.
I can tell you it's Disney, and I can tell you it's Marvel. So our set is going to be right there on William Street.
The Secret Productions location manager says Atlanta is a perfect backdrop to transport audiences around the world.
Atlanta can look like LA, Atlanta can look like Miami, we look like London, New York. And if you go outside of Atlanta, you'll get a little countryness as well.
Lana Harris, CBS 46 News.
And Assembly is also looking like a lot more than just Atlanta. As Lana just pointed out, you know, Atlanta can really transform into different places that are help tell a story. I mean, it transformed to California, it can transform to other countries. Assembly is doing just that itself. Some of these studios that we highlighted here on Atlanta News First Plus, for the first time ever, giving you that exclusive look, creates New Orleans-style streetscapes and Brooklyn-style brownstones, European-style cityscapes, and 2 futuristic glass buildings. All of that helping to tell a story, not just here in Atlanta, but to take you across the world and into universes that only film can take you to. The filmable buildings themselves will be shown here on Atlanta News First throughout the week. We're highlighting them, our team of reporters telling all sides of Georgia's film history, of Assembly, taking you to all corners and spaces of this eat, sleep, play facility, and more of what you can expect out of 135 acres that is dedicated to workspace, to livability, to housing. This is really the future for Atlanta, for Doraville, bringing back to life the facility that was once the General Motors assembly plant, and doing it in a way that is futuristic. I mean, showing off this creation in this massive interactive space that many film studios will use to tell stories, and many small businesses in the Doraville area will use to service community members, impacting really hundreds and thousands of people in this community and communities beyond. It's a fantastic way to honor Atlanta, to take it to the future, and to really capitalize that phrase, Hollywood of the South, by creating more films that you can love and look forward to here in Atlanta. We're minutes away from the Atlanta News First newscast at noon. We're going to be highlighting more of Assembly Atlanta, so don't go anywhere. Our Atlanta News First reporter Don Shipman has a live look for you from the steps of Assembly and many of its wonderful, impressive, might I add, features, as well as our Atlanta News First reporter Rodney Harris with a look at your forecast and what you can expect in the week ahead. Thanks for joining us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Maria Moreau, and this has been an exclusive digital look at Assembly Atlanta. We're going to continue to follow all of your coverage throughout the week, starting at 10 o'clock every day and taking you through all the different parts of Assembly Atlanta. Up ahead for tomorrow, if you want to tune back in, we're going into the history of Doraville and talking to none other than Decatur Dan with Decatur-ish as he highlights the history of DeKalb County, Doraville particularly, and the future that Assembly Atlanta can bring to that. We hope you'll join us here on Atlanta News First Plus. Have a wonderful day and make it a great one.